Joining us on the set is Jeff Parker. He's our Chief Executive Officer with VMS. Thanks for joining us today. I know you had a busy week. You were in budget workshops all week.
A lot of workshops and training for the directors on budgets, and we're still finishing up today, and then have a few more next week. But I think we've done over 8 already, and this is a new thing for us. We're basically going through with kind of a department review so that the directors understand, what the departments do specifically, what are kind of their major goals and objectives that they have, and how it relates to the old budget, 2019, and the current budget, 2021. Kind of skipped over the 2020 year because of all the uniqueness, but kind of showing where we've been and where we're at now. And really what this is all about is getting the directors and staff ready to go into next year's budget process, which we start in May and June and July, and with the adoption and then process of August being on TV, and then adoption in September for next January. So it's a lot of lead time in doing our budgets, but it's important that everybody's on the same page going into it.
I think so too, especially since we always have this kind of weird influx of new directors and previous directors, so you never know, where you're going to be with that. So this information is valuable to not only our, seniority directors, but those of them that joined possibly in November and October of last year.
Especially the last couple of years, absolutely. It's been really good.
Yeah. Well, you have some great news. I think the numbers are looking pretty good. Yeah,
we're very excited to see this trend continue that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks. Up on the board there, you can see that we're only 97 cases, so we're dropped to under the 100 cases for our daily activity. 12,000 tests, though, still report, so that's a huge shift in the sense of that low a number of cases versus that many tests being done. So that's great news. And we'll show that on the next chart in a minute. But I do want to mention the 167 for hospitalizations and 35 for ICUs. That 167 is the lowest number that the county's seen since October. And the 35 ICU cases is the lowest reported since they started recording COVID.
Wow.
And so back in May, they had 36 people when they started doing their website in ICU, and now we're below that. So that's critical in talking about the next category, where we're talking about what tier are we in? And we're in the red tier now. We just went into that red tier, but we're going to be going into the orange tier next.
Orange tier eventually.
And the question is, when are we going to get there, right? So in a report that came out yesterday, NBC reported that there's the possibility that Orange County might get to the orange tier by as soon as the 31st, as opposed to the projected time frame was April 7th.
Right.
So a week earlier, basically.
And that orange tier is just below that 4 mark, and I think when I saw it this morning, it was about 3.2. And there is a little bit of a lag and some time for that data to actually
in the reporting
settle
period. The significance is that if we keep moving, obviously, the more things that we can open. And what I mentioned earlier was that we're gearing up towards our recreation programs. Now, if we go into the orange tier, that we can get into certain activities that can have a 25 to 50% capacity versus the 10% capacity. When we only had 10% capacity, opening up the gym and only having 5 people in there didn't make sense. But now with 25% capacity or more, we're doing a lot better. And as you can see, the critical element of this is that in all reality, we are down in that moderate range. So we're clearly in that next category if we can hold steady there. At 3.5, if it can stay under 4, and the 2.1 and the 3.2 are all trending in the category to get to. So technically, if you look at that, we're in the orange.
Right.
But if you remember, there's the requirement that you stay in the red for 3 weeks. Well, one of the reasons they're talking about it instead of the 7th being a week earlier is it looks like the state and the governor is looking at changing one of the categories, and that's the how many people have been immunized, how many inoculations have got. Now in Orange County alone, we're over 1 million people have gotten shots. So they're looking at if we can lower that threshold because so many people are getting the shots now,
Right.
then we potentially could drop into the orange as soon as
Wow.
which would be great. Now, for me, it's and the organization here, it's great. We're now there. We can start opening these things up. I'm in the process right now of hiring a lot of part-time recreational staff so that we can open these facilities. So it will also be dependent on our ability to have the right staffing, because we
Absolutely.
still need to keep the distancing, the mask requirement, and all of that, and manage this process. But we are certainly excited about opening up. And I mentioned to Lisa, and you and I have talked about it, coming next week and really talking in more depth about our reopening plan.
Right. And then the biggest challenge, I think, will probably be everybody's biting at the bit to try and get into our facilities. We'll be managing, like you said, there are still rules and regulations regarding how many people can be within that facility. So I don't know if you're going to go to a reservation process or first come, first serve, but those are things that will be challenges not only for our residents to get back in the community as far as facilities, but especially our staff.
And that's really what we're going to be looking at, is how are we going to facilitate people getting in. We're using a reservation system right now downstairs. We did open up by appointment only to come into manor alterations and resident services. That's working out pretty well. So we probably will be looking at similar type processes with regards to our activities when we open up the clubhouses. At the same time, we're communicating with the clubs. Brian Gruner in Recreation is sending out a survey to contact the clubs to find out where are they? Are they wanting to be engaged the way they were prior to us closing down the facilities? And using an example, the Bridge Club, a very big group of people in Clubhouse 7. Well, a lot of people have still have concerns about the distancing and everything there. And so are they going to operate the same way? Or a lot of people have gone online to play Bridge online. So are their numbers going to be the same? We're still not allowing outside residents to come in. So that automatically drops their numbers. So, maybe that gives us the ability to space it out well enough that they could continue whenever they
And it's interesting too, now that you brought up the Bridge Club, is that those are 4-foot card tables. I don't believe there are 6-foot card tables in our community or anywhere really. So that's going to be a big challenge, and that's a very utilized facility, the Clubhouse 7 area and the Bridge Room, and that Bridge Club was wonderful. They're one of the best bridge clubs in the country. So that'll be a challenge that we'll face here post-COVID in the next, I don't know, we say 3 months?
Right, and hopefully we're going to get more and more, instructions from during these orange and yellow levels as to what we can open up and how it should augment. They're still suggesting at the state level that large groups, gatherings of any kind, are not recommended. So we have to balance that between what's a group. If it's 1 or 2 or 3 people, that's not a group. Obviously, we're okay there. But when we talk about gatherings of any type, major groups.
And a lot of it has to do with the relation too, because I know it's like family members. Okay, well, that's difficult too, especially in an atmosphere like we have.
So hopefully when we talk next week and we can kind of break that down so people have an understanding of where we're going, how we're managing this, and how we're going to be reopening our facilities.
Well, good. We look forward to having that on Village Television. We'll have a chance to have you and Lisa sit down and kind of propose, how this new reopening plan and post-COVID environment will be. I know you have to get to another budget workshop this morning, so we're going to let you go. So we appreciate you coming in and visiting with us on Village Television.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Have a great weekend. That's Jeff Parker. He's our CEO of VMS, and each week he comes on and discusses many of the things that are happening in our community. Be sure and join us on Mondays and Fridays usually, where he'll be able to give us updates not only on COVID, but many of the things happening in our community. We'll be back with Elsie Addington and Lisa Hart right after this.